Hello everybody, my name is Jessica Huey and this is my signature project presentation about psychopaths and the prefrontal cortex for EDP310, Understanding the Brain. I first wanted to begin by explaining why I'm interested in this topic. I have a deep curiosity about the complexities of human behavior and cognition. I find the interaction between brain function and personality traits, such as those exhibited in psychopathy, to be inherently interesting. Understanding how the prefrontal cortex influences decision making, empathy, and social behavior provides valuable insights into what makes us uniquely human. And exploring this topic allows me to dive into the nuances of mental health, ethics, social interactions, which prompts reflection and fostering empathy towards others. Now diving into the topic of this presentation, I think it is important to actually explain what is psychopathy. And psychopathy is a personality disorder characterized by callous lack of empathy, impulse antisocial behavior, and criminal recidivism. So why does this connect to the prefrontal cortex and its functions? Well, the role of your prefrontal cortex is to regulate your thoughts, actions, and emotions through connections with other brain regions. And although this is the most evolved part of the human brain, it can also be considered the most fragile, having detrimental effects from stress exposure. So moving forward, what does research say about the prefrontal cortex dysfunction in psychopathy? Well, to begin, subregions of the prefrontal cortex mediate a variety of functions that contribute to behavior control, emotion, social cognition, and value-based decision-making. That being said, damage to the ventromedial prefrontal cortex is linked to an array of emotion and decision-making deficits, which includes diminished guilt, shame, and empathy, irritability, poor planning, irresponsibility, and failure to learn from punishment. In relation to this information, psychopathy is linked to a notably higher prevalence of violent criminal behavior, substance misuse, and repeat offending. In addition to this, although severe psychopathy affects just about 1% of people, some research suggests that close to up to 30% of us has some level of psychopathic traits. Lastly, the first evidence highlighting the pivotal role of the prefrontal cortex in psychopathic personality traits is famously illustrated by the case of Phineas Gage in 1848. So here are just a couple more points of data and evidence that link prefrontal cortex dysfunction to psychopathy. So there are actually two different types of psychopathy. One is primary and one is secondary. Primary psychopathy is characterized by antagonism, callous affect, grandiosity, manipulative behavior, selfishness, low anxiety, and a charismatic interpersonal style. However, secondary psychopathy more closely resembles the impulsive, neurotic, and antisocial lay conceptualization of a psychopath. So that being said, offenders high in overall psychopathy show decreased functional connectivity between prefrontal regions and the amygdala in facial emotion matching tasks. But evidence has shown that there is successful psychopaths. So what is a successful psychopath? Successful psychopaths can be described as those who possess psychopathic traits but are able to adapt and integrate themselves into society. They may show signs of low anxiety and fearlessness, but ultimately can thrive in society, such as attending college or having a steady career. So here are some examples of psychopaths and their prefrontal cortex. So Phineas Gage, as stated 2 slides ago, is a prime example of how damage to the prefrontal cortex can alter personality. After a work-related incident, a metal rod impaled Gage's skull. He survived the accident, but Gage's personality was ever changed. This included restlessness, indulging at inappropriate times, little respect for others, and impatience, which is all regulated by the prefrontal cortex, which was damaged during the work-related incident. And Jeffrey Dahmer, which is a widely known psychopath, his actions, marked by extreme violence and cannibalism, prompted the exploration into the neural basis of such a peculiar behavior. Dahmer exhibited early signs of psychological distress, including his fascination with dismembering animals. This disturbing behavior, coupled with the chaotic family life from his parents' divorce, likely contributed to his later descent into violence. So as stated before, stress exposure can cause detrimental effects to the prefrontal cortex, which may be why Jeffrey Dahmer exhibited and acted on his psychological tendencies. So moving forward, I wanted to go in depth about how psychopaths with damage to their prefrontal cortex deal with social interactions. So to begin, psychopaths have difficulty understanding and processing the emotions of themselves and others, leading to challenges in forming meaningful interpersonal relationships and engaging in socially appropriate behavior. That being said, psychopaths often possess a superficial charm and charisma that they use to manipulate others. They can be adept at presenting themselves in a favorable light and gaining trust, which they then will exploit for their own gain. So, despite their antisocial tendencies, psychopaths can often be skilled at navigating social situations and adapting to different environments. They may excel in professions that require confidence, assertiveness, and lack of emotional attachment, such as certain leadership roles and other high stake careers. So, what are the cognitive impacts on my field of interest, which is business entrepreneurship? Well, psychopathic individuals may struggle to form meaningful relationships due to their lack of empathy and manipulative tendencies. In entrepreneurship, interpersonal relationships are crucial for networking, building partnerships, and creating customer relations. Psychopathic traits may impact an entrepreneur's ability to establish and maintain these relationships effectively. Next, the prefrontal cortex is crucial for decision-making processes, including weighing risks, considering consequences, and exercising impulse control. Dysfunction in this brain region, as seen in psychopathy, can lead to an impaired decision-making ability. Psychopathic individuals may exhibit greater propensity for risk-taking behavior and may be less concerned with potential negative outcomes, which can influence their entrepreneurial decisions. Lastly, psychopathic traits such as charisma and lack of empathy may influence leadership styles in entrepreneurship. While some psychopathic traits can be advantageous for leadership, such as confidence and assertiveness, others, like manipulative and disregard for others' well being, can be detrimental to team dynamics and organizational culture. So, after all this research, here are some important takeaways for me and in business entrepreneurship. It's important to know that psychopathy affects more people than we think. It's just a matter of how people who possess these traits adapt to navigate society. Next, traditional therapeutic approaches may be less effective with psychopathic individuals, which means new ideas for intervention need to be taken into consideration. Lastly, by recognizing the role of the prefrontal cortex and psychopathy in decision making, entrepreneurs can attempt to create a balance between risk and caution, encouraging strategic decision making that maximizes opportunities while minimizing potential pitfalls. So, why is understanding the prefrontal cortex and psychopathy important for others to know? To begin, awareness of the link between the prefrontal cortex and psychopathy can inform educational and preventative measures in various fields, such as psychology, psychiatry, or criminology. It can help identify potential risk factors or vulnerabilities that predispose individuals to developing psychopathic traits. Awareness of psychopathy and its associated traits, such as lack of empathy and impulsivity, can help entrepreneurs recognize potential risks and challenges in business interactions, such as negotiating deals, managing conflicts, and building relationships. Incorporating this knowledge into business practices can lead to more effective leadership, ethical decision making, and risk management strategies, ultimately contributing to the long term success and sustainability of entrepreneurial ventures. This also offers valuable insights into human behavior, decision making processes, and interpersonal dynamics that can directly impact business success. Entrepreneurs can better assess their own cognitive strengths and weaknesses, as well as those of their team members. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope you were able to learn something new.